Hey YouTube, remember that one time I decided to shoot a video at the beginning of a storm perhaps? Well, that's happening right meow. So a little bit of a wind kicking up and some darker clouds are rolling in. So we'll see how this goes. But figured I would showcase a couple of things. On the Tundra, however, I feel like I haven't given the FJ any love for the last couple months. So figured I'd show this to you guys real quick. So no additions, no changes to this. In my personal opinion, if you're going to keep a FJ Cruiser, the best way to keep it is completely stock, and that to include even small things like window tint, stuff like that. I wouldn't even consider doing to this. So less is more with the FJ Cruiser, in my personal opinion. But she's looking good. So hopefully it's too crummy out here in the weather-wise. I'll get it tucked back in the garage. There she be. Well, the couple things I want to share with you are kind of old news, but I never talked about it, and I figured it was a worthwhile thing to discuss. And that's window tint, for starters. So you guys know I ended up totally cheaping out with the window tint on both the Land Cruiser as well as the 4Runner here. I got like a 2-for-1 deal, and I should have known. Typically, if a deal is too good to be true, it more than likely is too good to be true, and that's what it was. It was a hack job. It was installed so poorly. The quality of the tint was awful, and I should have known better. I'm definitely not the type to cheap out on things, but I've never been burned by tint before, a tint installer. So I've always kind of just considered it I don't know, you can't cheap out on something like that, but you can, and lesson learned for sure. So I ended up having it removed. Of course, the Land Cruiser ended up selling that, and of course I talked that over with the person who bought it. But with the 4Runner here, I swapped it out for some 3M ceramic tint here. It's a little bit more pricey, of course, given the nature of what it is, but the biggest thing, not only is it actually, sorry, the wind is kicking up, guys, hopefully it's not too bad. The biggest thing that you notice right away is the heat reduction, and it is awesome. Not only did they do an actual good job in the actual cut, and I'll pop in here, I'll show you, they installed it right along the top of the window line, perfect cuts all throughout, those laser cut, if you will, for this particular vehicle. So it was actually, top tier shop that I went to out here in Maryland. You can just tell the difference. Just when you walk in the door, you can tell the difference. But outside of the actual job itself and the cuts and everything is the heat difference, right? So it being the ceramic tint, you notice a huge difference between, previously when I left the vehicle in the parking lot all day, and it was a hot day out, and I'd hop back in, the cabin would be super hot as we're used to. So I did two things different. I got the ceramic for the first time ever on both of these. I ended up doing it on the Tundra as well, same shop. But I also did the windshield. So I've never done that. I never even thought to do it. Then again, I've also typically have lived in places where it doesn't get that hot, right? You guys know I was out in Wyoming and Washington, so I've always been in places where maybe it didn't warrant it. But here, when I arrived out here in Maryland, the humidity, just how hot that summer was, it felt like it was a worthwhile investment, and I'm super happy I did, because you notice it. I would argue it's at least 10-15 degrees cooler compared to what it used to be when I would get in on an equally hot day. The heat reduction that the ceramic actually offers is pretty cool and pretty remarkable, especially even having it on the front windshield. And forgive me, I should have opened with this, guys, but I have 70% on the windshields of both of these. So 70% purposely chose a high percentage because I didn't care to actually have it tinted up front, but I mainly did it for the sake of the heat reduction. So 70% up front and then 20% on the sides. And I know a lot of you always ask me, did I do like 20% up front and then 35, because the rear glass is always stained from factory, right? It's a little bit darker. The answer is no. So I do 20% all around the sides and the back. So as you can see, you can actually see through up front, right? Whereas you cannot see through the back here. And I kind of like that, and I prefer that, I think, because obviously you can match it, and some people prefer that, and I understand why. But I actually like showing that there is a conscious effort to make the front less dark, and I don't know, it's going to depend on the police officer that pulls you over, but if they see that there is an effort to make this lighter, perhaps they won't pull you over. I don't know, maybe it's in my own head, that little philosophy there. But 20% in the rear too. And that percentage, I know we've talked about it before and most people understand this, but just in case, that percentage is the amount of light that it allows through. So 70% up here, so 70% of the sunlight will actually come through up here, and then 20% on the sides. And consequently, because this is a little already stained glass in the rear, this in the back glass, you know, you're probably looking at probably closer to 10% back here is what it ultimately is at this point. But it definitely looks great. I'll pop in here and I'll show you the difference between the cuts. I don't know if you guys remember. If you don't, just look at my old videos. The cuts of that previous job that I had were so bad. I'll show you the biggest indicator is this. I'll start it up. So this is always your biggest indicator right here, in my opinion. If I can actually have it focus. So right here along the edge, if they can get a cut that is perfectly along the glass edge of your windows, they did a good job. And typically this is an indicator that they do a laser cut as well. So it is perfectly set to your vehicle. You know, same goes for all around, but this is what it looks like. It's a little dark at nighttime, but I've definitely gotten used to it and I appreciate it. Of course, we got the giant iKamper back there blocking a lot of the view, but you can still see through it, which I appreciate, especially when my daughter has a little puppy dog, Exhibit A. But not too dark. I definitely have grown to appreciate this, especially for, you know, daylight driving. This is perfect, I think. And obviously you can't really tell any difference with the front glass here. So you can tell me what you think about that. The other change, the other addition that I've made was to the Tundra here. Right before I show you that, if you have a 4Runner, the thing you want to look for also with the cuts is when you roll down this window, this is actually a difficult thing for some tint installers to actually do and do well. So this one's an easy one for them to kind of, you know, half do, if you will. So the cut will always be, I'm just going to show you. Sorry, it's probably better to show you. Pop in. So same thing over here. So much better. You guys remember how choppy this was before. It was like way down here, a huge gap, which looks awful. And again, 70% up front. It's nice and cool in here. So I'm going to roll down that back glass. For those of you who don't know, it's right there. Just going to roll down a little bit just so you can see what I'm talking about. So this, it's starting to rain. This is where they typically have a pour cut, where they like cut it along this edge right here, just because it's pretty tight in here. So always look for that after you get your job done. And you can kind of see here, right? So that isn't ideal, but that's the best you're gonna get with the 4Runner for sure. So I feel pretty good about that. And it's starting to rain, but I'll show you before it gets too bad. I'll show you the other addition, and that is I went and Linexed the entire iKamper here. Sorry, it's starting to come down. So if you guys remember, normally it was gloss black, and this is silver with a red, I think I or K, I forget what it was, but just Linex that with their premium coat, and you know, it doesn't affect the functionality of it. You can lift it up, it pops up just fine. So just want to share that with you. I might get mixed reviews on that one, but it actually came with a little bit of spider cracking up in the fiberglass, up in the paint when I got it. I didn't realize that when I purchased it. So I figured this would be a good fix for that, rather than trying to swap out the entire top, the hard cover here. And I think it looks great. It definitely matches well with the diamond back, of course. And I think it just kind of came together nicely. Oh, buggy feature. We gotta get inside, buggy. Alrighty. Well, there you have it, team. Just want to share those couple things with you and see what your thoughts were. And let me know if you guys have done ceramic tint before. Like I said, I've never done it before now, and I am a firm believer at this point that it's definitely the way to go. Between both vehicles here, I think it was $1,100 for both vehicles, but they also charged a little bit to remove the existing crap job on the 4Runner there. So there you have it, guys. I made this a long video, but I appreciate you watching. Till next time.